Hey there, how's it going? I'm Chris with PearsonCopy.com, and I'm here to help your brand make more sales with email. As part of my 100 emails in 100 days challenge, I'm breaking down an email from a brand called MYVES. The big reason why I clicked on their Facebook ad in my feed, checked out their website, and signed up for their list, is the fact that their product is actually a food purification product that you put in the sink while you're washing vegetables and fruit, and it actually purifies and helps clean the fruit and remove agricultural and chemical residues. So that's a thing that's going on, that people are becoming aware of. So this product actually helps resolve that. Excuse me, and actually take that away from the fruit and the vegetables and helps clean them, purify them, etc. So that was a big reason why I thought this was pretty interesting. I wanted to see what they were doing with their emails. Um, and I signed up for their list a couple weeks ago, and this is an email I got at the time of this recording yesterday. So I wanted to dive in and see kind of what they got going on and kind of hopefully get out of their welcome sequence and see more like promo emails. At the time of this recording as well, we just transitioned into summer in the US, in America, in North America. So I want to see if they're doing promos, if they're doing summer type stuff, if they're doing some kind of connection to that, and what they're actually selling and how. And I think I got a good email here that we can break down and get some insights from, and potentially take back to your brand so you can make more sales with it. So, with that being said, that's the context. I'll go ahead and dive in with this email, and we'll get going. So we'll start with the subject line. Get ahead of the summer heat, purification box P1 on sale. So first, get ahead of the summer heat. I think that is on the nose. It's a good subject line. We are transitioning into summer when it comes to the U.S. And North America, so that makes sense. It definitely ties to what's already going on in the potential customer's life if they're selling in the U.S. or North America. So that makes sense. A suggestion here I would say is this one doesn't I would imagine doesn't really stand out in the inbox with the emails I've seen lately from brands as we transition into summer. This is roughly the same thing. It's like, it's summertime, beat the heat. It's summertime, stay cool. It's summertime, wear sunblock. Like, everybody's transitioning into summer right now in North America, so it's like this is really on the nose, and it's not going to stand out a whole lot, even though it does make sense. So something I would suggest is maybe play on the idea of agricultural and chemical residues. So if you're eating summer fruit, here's what you need to watch for. Or if you don't clean your fruit, here's why you should. Or something to that effect of like, let's play on that, the actual pain point, the fear or the problem that they're potentially either know about and want to sort of try and solve, or don't know about yet, and you're trying to introduce it to them. So we have to address the fact that, like, since I'm a new subscriber to their email list, maybe I don't know about the idea of agricultural chemical residues and things like that. So this email could be a promo for summer, but it could also educate in the sense of like, hey, when fruit and veggies come off the farm or certain farms or et cetera, this is what happens. These are the residue. This is how you need to clean it. This is et cetera, X, Y, and Z. So something like that from an education standpoint, if somebody doesn't know the problem exists, then we need to share to them and explain to them what the problem is and why it's going to impact them if they don't take care of it. If they already know the problem exists and they're looking for a solution of like, hey, I already know my fruits and veggies have residue, not a whole lot I can do about it. I can only wash them so much, but I want to go the extra mile with this. Then, hey, MYVES can step in and say, hey, our purification box P1 model is what you need to do to put in your sink while you're washing your fruits and veggies this summer. So I think if they took one step further off the summer idea and went more towards the benefit or the big promise and the benefit of their product and tied that to summer, that may get them a little bit, get them more opens and more clicks, because they're actually standing out in the inbox now instead of just saying what basically everybody else is saying right now. So that's what I would suggest to the subject line. That's the one big thing that I would push for if I were writing these subject lines for them. Next piece, the from name and from email address, pretty straightforward. It's the brand name with the cs@myves.com. Most brands do that. It's pretty straightforward. That's totally fine. If you're going to do any educational content, it does benefit to have somebody out front or next to the brand speaking for the brand, as opposed to just the brand doing it. I've seen in cases where the brand does the educational content and it can sound like it's preaching, or it's almost like, hey, I'm better than you, or I'm up on high and you need to listen to me because I know this and you don't. When you actually give a face to that education, there's a teacher-student connection as opposed to like a brand-person connection, which there isn't really one there. But when it's a teacher-student, it's a more intimate connection, and people are familiar with that connection because most people know what education is when it comes to North America, and they understand what the teacher and student connection actually means, and they have context for that. So they slide right into that role as a student, as they're learning and being educated before they buy a product. So that's something that maybe MYVES can consider, is maybe they have an advocate or some kind of spokesperson that steps out next to the brand and says, hey, I'm going to educate you on some of the things, but when they're actually selling, they can sell as a brand. So that's an idea of how to split that as well, if you want to do from an actual person as opposed to the brand. But also if you go from the brand, that's totally fine too. There's just different ways you want to approach that if you do it that way. So let's go ahead and move into the actual email content. First, I really appreciate that MYVES is using a view in browser link. If you're a design first type brand with your emails, you definitely want to view in browser so people can actually click this, open up the email in their browser tab, and actually see the whole email. Some providers block, distort, remove, and do different things with images. Images are flags and signals to email providers that it could be a promotion. So the more images you use in general, or just the bigger the size of the image, typically that's going to be signaled or flagged as this is potentially promotion. Look at the other factors and see if you need to move it out of the inbox, the main inbox. This is why I'm an advocate of plain text. Is the sales message typically ends up in front of the customer more often when it's plain text, because there are fewer signals saying that it's a marketing promotion sales message, as opposed to a message from a friend or something that the customer actually wants to read and spend time with. So, but anyway, the design first emails, if you are using that for your brand, the view and browser link at the top is super helpful for customers that do have issues with their email providers. Next, we have the brand name here. I think that ultimately this is totally fine. It's not too intrusive. It doesn't really catch your eye and keep you at the top. And it doesn't. The brand name here doesn't really keep you from scrolling into the content. So I think that's good. Reminds the customer that, hey, you're reading a MYVES email, and they're in the right place. So they're acknowledging the fact that you're in the right place. The next piece here, use limited time code to get P1 at $74.95. Limited time offers valid until June 30th, 23:59 PST. And here's the code. So this is the offer that was promised, or partially promised, in the purification box P1, or in the subject line up here. So it's the offer that's promised. It's on sale. Here's the price, and here's the code to actually get this. When you purchase. So they go right into the offer and give it. Something else that I haven't seen yet from other brand emails, I think I've only seen it in one of the videos I've done, if any, is they're actually using a countdown timer. So this is actually a live countdown timer for the date June 30th at basically 11:59 p.m. or 23:59 PST, right? So 24 hour, the 12-hour clock. This is a countdown timer. So this is basically, this is an urgency play. So this creates urgency of saying, hey, this is how much time you have left to buy before it disappears. And this can work in emails. It just really depends what you're selling, who your audience is, and why you're using this clock. And if it's real, the one thing with urgency is it has to be real. If it's fake urgency and the customers find out, or it's partially real and you're like kind of stretching it a little bit, they're not going to buy because they don't trust you. You're eroding trust by not making things 100% real with your urgency. And when it comes to urgency, it's like, hey, like this, until the end of June, we're offering this deal at 11:59 p.m. PST with 12-hour clock. This coupon code's going to expire and you can't use it anymore. That's real urgency, right? If you're going to offer that. Something else too with urgency is don't do it too often. Maybe do it once or twice a month if you're going to do promos, because if you do urgency too often, what it does is it erodes your trust with your customers, and you also train them that the only time they buy is when they see a code, and you don't want that. You want them to buy every single day. Every time you send an email, you want them to buy something. Some people on your list are going to buy something with that email, right? So if you train them that until you see a code, don't buy, that's essentially what you're doing with urgency. If you do it too often, is you're just training them that you only want to buy when there's a code, because I'm going to give you a deal here in 2 weeks anyway, so you might as well wait. So just when you're using urgency, you're using discount codes, things like that, just be aware that that's what you're doing with your customers, is you're teaching them and you're showing them that it's okay not to buy right now because you're going to get a code later. So it's kind of counterintuitive to think that way. It's like, hey, you have a code, you should buy, but it is teaching them to buy if there's only a code. So if you don't want that, then use urgency sparingly, use scarcity sparingly, use code sparingly, use them on maybe certain holidays, or maybe once a quarter you do a code for like 4 or 5 days or 3 or 5 days, and that's it. Otherwise, you want them to buy because you sent an email, not because you have a code. Next, part of the urgency, save $25 on your purification box before it's too late. So something here is save $25. It's a different way of saying $74.95, but I don't know what the full price is. So I'm assuming 25 plus $74.95 is the actual price, which if I do my math correctly, $99.95 is the actual full price. So save $25 off full $99.95 crossed out full price on your if you put the full price in, that's going to show the contrast between the two. Also, putting 25 next to $99.95 is going to look like a bigger difference than $74.95, right? So that could be a little play here you can use with the numbers and just get people to think, hey, that's a huge discount, when it's $25 off either way. It's just how it's presented, right? So that's something you can do here, and I would add that in here. Next, we get into basically the first long form copy here. It's not just offers and urgency. And essentially this section here in general just restates what you just saw above, and it's in a different format. It is text, but it is plain text. It's written out as if somebody's writing you an email. So ultimately, I think that MYVES, if they haven't already, I would test this, is remove everything above this paragraph here, this hi there section, remove all of it and just go with the plain text and see how that performs. In most cases, plain text does outperform design first emails when it comes to clicks and sales. And when you're using direct response copywriting principles, you actually, when it comes to this, like driving sales, direct response to customers who are ready to buy, direct response copy typically performs better than design. So I would test that. I would just take this hi there, delete everything above it, and just send this and see what it does, and see if it would test better. So also the copy here could be improved. There are a few things here that I noticed that we could do. So hi there, hope you're doing well. We noticed you haven't stepped by in a while, so stepped is spelled incorrectly, but you haven't stepped by in a while. That is for North America anyway, from what I understand, that's a pretty weird phrase. I've never heard anybody say that before. So stopped by, that could have been stopped and they just misspell it. That could be a thing too. So one thing, spelling like that stopped me in my tracks and was like, whoa, hey, what is this? Like, you guys don't know how to spell the word stopped or stepped by, etc. Can I trust you? So even a little bit of misspellings like this, like customers do forgive relatively quickly when it comes to like spelling errors and stuff, because not everybody can write well, and mistakes happen, right? But when it comes to this, it's a direct sale, like click here to buy now. Like, I'm trying to get you to buy, and I'm not trying to build a relationship. I'm just trying to get a transaction. This type of thing is going to cause friction and say, should I? I can't really trust them to spell correctly. I don't know if I should trust them with my money. That can be a thing sometimes. So this is super important to make sure you spell check this stuff. Next, if you're waiting for a good deal now, you can get P1 at $74.95, $25 off. So again, $74.95, $25 off, that makes me have to think, okay, well then what's the original price? $99.95. Okay, I would just say now you can get P1 for $25 off full price, and then put $99.95 crossed out, and put $74.95 as the price. Like, show them that difference, that price difference, that price drop, so the brain doesn't have to actually do the math. Make it very, very easy for them to see that $25 off means this. That's going to help a little bit when it comes to people actually clicking through and shopping. And then this limited time offer is only valid until June 30th, 23:59. So they forgot to put PST here. So that's something too, is like, you want to be consistent with your timing, because 23:59 for me in Mountain Time versus PST is different. So we want to make sure that's the same, because if they just skip past this, let's say they skip past it and read this, say 23, I have until basically midnight tonight to buy, or 11:30 tonight, 12-hour clock, and I'm on the East Coast. Well, you're 2-3 hours late, 3 hours late to buy. And you can't buy anymore. So that's something just to keep in mind, is like just accuracy and consistency of what your offer is and what the actual details are. That's a huge deal. And then this discount code will apply to each eligible item per order. Buy more, save more. So again, spelling errors, syntax, things like that matters. This stopped me up as well. I just read it again and it stopped me up. But things like this matter. So getting this in order of this is the right approach. This is the right thing to do. That it applies and it's eligible per item. And again, CTA, buy more, save more. But getting that syntax right so it actually reads correctly and reads smoothly, that's a big deal when it comes to getting people to click. And then just a few more pieces here. So make your purchase. That's your CTA button, which is fine. And then meet the food purification box P1. So if you don't know what the purification box is and you open this email, they wait until the end of this email to actually explain what the product is. So in general, this is the direct offer. This is a recap of the offer, right? With some urgency, recap of the offer. And then they go into what the product actually is. So if you're like, okay, I want to use this, it's a discount code, I want to buy it, but I'm not sure what it is, you can actually get some information here. Ideally, what I saw here is the agricultural and chemical residues. So this right here actually caught my attention the most in the email, because I've heard of that stuff, but I haven't actually experienced it when it comes to my food, or I actually thought that that's a thing with my food, because I think my foods are getting clean, etc. So there's a belief shift potentially happening in this email, where it's like agricultural and chemical residues. Okay, what does that mean? P1 helps removing agricultural and chemical residues on the surface of fruits, vegetables, meats, and seafood. Oh, so there's residue on this food. Okay. Why does that matter? Like, what do you mean? Why does that matter? And they don't actually explain what that actually means for the customer, or why it matters to them. And I think that's a gap here in this copy, is like, okay, great. You've mentioned the feature of the product and what it does, but you haven't told me why it matters to me. A line here of saying 82%, and this is just a random stat, but 82% of fruits, veggies, and seafood have residue when they leave the farm or when they're shipped. This is how you remove that residue, so you have cleaner, healthier food, and you're not what do you want to say? You're not forcing your body to process toxins that it doesn't need to process, right? You're not putting undue stress on your kidneys, livers, etc. And that right there, that one extra line of copy here, while also kind of reshaping this first paragraph, is enough to make people go, oh wow, that's a real thing, and it makes them curious, and they're like, okay, I do need this because I buy my stuff from the grocery store, or I buy it from X, Y, and Z, and I know it has to have residue. So it's a belief shift move here, but it's also selling the product if they don't buy with a direct offer at the top. And then, yeah, same thing here. And then price information, etc. And then the final piece of the email, we have the branded images or branded image for their products, it looks like. And then we have the socials, center for information, and brand name. So yeah, two big insights here that I would take away from this email is one, spend a little bit more time on connecting the features and benefits of the products to the idea of transitioning to summer instead of the summer into the product. What this is going to do is it's going to customize and make it unique to your product. Your product's going to be the unique thing standing out in the inbox, as opposed to the idea of summer coming. Everybody's talking about summer, so there's nothing really unique about that. But what's unique is how your product helps people transition into summer. If you just invert that and start with your product as opposed to the transition that's happening, that can give you just enough difference for people to say, oh, that's interesting, I want to click on that instead of the other 15 emails that are standing next to it. So that's the first thing. The second insight is, I think this is, after reviewing this for a second, is just this section here, the agricultural and chemical residue, is here's the feature. Let's talk about the benefits and why it matters to the customer. And then say, hey, if you want to take care of this problem or resolve this problem, here's how to do it. Buy now. That right there, just feature, benefit, dimensionalization, CTA. That little combo right there, that order of operations when it comes to describing things, or as long as you have those pieces in a description, that's going to give the customer a nice frame on how to look at the product through and how to see that product being used in their life. So those are the two big insights. I hope these helped. Please use these in your own brand with some emails, find some places to use them. And if you do get results, let me know. I'd really enjoy talking to you about it and seeing how that worked. In the meantime, I hope you have a great day. Check out my other videos on YouTube. I'm doing 100 emails in 100 days as a breakdown challenge. And yeah, so thanks for watching. Have a great one.